Sometimes I feel like I want to fly without no wings. I elevate.
Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Barkoff, and I am the Sober Cold Bear, and welcome to another episode of the Sober Cold Bear podcast. And joining me in studio is Lindsay D. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for being a part of this and sharing your story.
Absolutely. Thanks for inviting me, Matt. This is great.
Yeah, so we were playing around with levels. This is the first time I'm actually doing something in person, so we'll keep this fun and light, and we've got our little bubbly waters here. Just so everybody knows, and again, I'm kind of like looking at you and I'm looking at the camera here. The Sober Cold Bear podcast is not a place to go if you want to get sober. It's certainly a resource available to you. We talk about a number of topics, including sobriety, addiction, mental health, depression, other, very important topics, along with business and fitness, which, Lindsay is a part of, and you'll hear about that today. But there are places to go when you actually do need help. You can go to AA, you can obviously go to rehab, which I always kind of kid saying I probably should have gone to rehab, never did. But, but again, this is a resource to you. If you do need help, ask for help, reach out to a loved one, a family member, your spouse, your brother, your best friend, what have you, your fitness instructor. Right?
Absolutely.
There you go. It's
Absolutely.
like, I guess everybody, has everybody can help. So, but this is here for obviously for we cover a lot of different topics and things like that. So today we're going to actually get into a number of topics, including kind of your history and your background. And the main subject today is cocaine. Let me say that again. Cocaine. I wish I could actually use the Eric Clapton song.
Right. Yeah, that'd be pretty expensive.
It probably would. They actually have different licensing organizations you can actually go through, but yes, it is very expensive. I don't think Eric Clapton would probably sign up for this.
Right. Actual about cocaine, doing cocaine,
stories about cocaine, fun with cocaine. Yeah, we're gonna talk a lot today. Why don't we start with your story? Tell us about you. Tell us about how you got here. Obviously, we know each other. We've known each other for quite some time, and we've been talking about doing this.
Yeah.
So start where you want to start, and then we'll get into the topic.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. So I grew up in a real small town in Colorado, and I started drinking and using alcohol. Was always a part of my family. No, for the longest time, I thought that I was the only alcoholic in my family. Come to find out years later, it's like, no, I'm definitely not the only alcoholic, definitely not the only one with addictions. But I was the only one that was outwardly an alcoholic. But I grew up with it. So I started drinking and using really young, and I just thought it was a normal part of life. Like, I really thought that just everybody does this. Like, no big deal to experiment with alcohol and ecstasy and marijuana and all the stuff.
How early did you get introduced to drugs? And by the way, you're from Breckenridge, Colorado.
Steamboat Springs.
Steamboat
Yeah,
Springs.
Steamboat
My bad.
Springs. No, that's okay.
I think I told you we've actually been to Steamboat for a baseball tournament.
Oh yeah,
when Jonah was much younger.
That's huge in the summer because it doubles the size of the town
and the revenue.
Much. Yeah,
it's probably the revenue for the whole year for the town with all the tournaments that go on there.
Steamboat does pretty well for itself with
the skiing
mountain.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a great town, but it's beautiful. I mean, there were only 8,000 people in it when I grew up there. I think it's almost doubled in size now.
There's a lot of bars. I mean, you literally walk through downtown of Steamboat, and it's there's bars and coffee shops and restaurants, maybe some stores kind of sprinkled in.
Yeah.
But
well, and it was known. It used to be in the 80s and early 90s as a cocaine place.
It was a party spot.
It was a party spot, absolutely.
So that in Aspen, kind of like that. I know, Aspen used to be a hangout for the wealthy.
Yeah,
Steamboat, I would think is too.
Steamboat was really low key when I was growing up there. Because it's more out of the way than Aspen and Breckenridge from Denver.
Yeah.
It's harder to get to.
Yeah.
So it's only been in the since I moved in the last 20 years, let's say, since it's really exploded to where people actually will be like, "Oh, I've been to Steamboat. I know
Yeah.
Steamboat." So,
I love it. Like I said,
oh yeah.
we went there and we drove right past Red Rocks heading out to Steamboat and things like that. So, how young were you when you started? Did you start? I assume you started drinking and
Yeah, so I started drinking around 11. I think I started like sneaking alcohol. I was in middle school, so probably 13 the first time I like really got drunk. And that my friend's brother gave us Everclear. Yeah, I know. It just,
you didn't drink it straight, did you?
oh
Or,
yeah.
God, that's like it's like drinking gasoline.
Yeah.
I mean, it pretty much is.
Yeah. I mean, that was my first experience. Like, that's why I thought that my drinking was perfectly normal because I'm around these people that are drinking Everclear as shots, just straight.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was kind of my first experience. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love this. I was always a very anxious kid. Never,
Were you shy? Were you angry?
I was very, very shy.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Could not look anybody in the eye, adults especially. Didn't fit in with other kids real well just because I was so shy and sensitive. And so, yeah, in middle school, I started getting bullied a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's when I fell in with the kids that drank and smoked weed and yeah, I was like, okay, I've arrived.
I've found my crew.
Okay, yeah.
It's funny, trauma is a massive part to addiction.
Yeah.
Massive part to addiction. So is codependency. But I had childhood trauma and I'm still dealing with it through therapy and other kind of healthy ways, right? But so you were bullied for kind of where kids, kind of saw you and used you as an scapegoat and things like that. And instead of, you just kind of regressed into a different group that ended up kind of having the drugs and alcohol as kind of the part of the scene.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the part of the bullying thing was, and I tell people, I'm like, my first heartbreak was not from a romantic relationship. It was my very
Please,
best.
I don't want to go there.
No, yeah, I know. We don't need to go there. My very
Inside joke.
Yeah,
Inside joke.
inside joke. My very best friend in the world. We grew up across the street from each other. Her name was Lindsay also. We were just inseparable. She was part of that group that bullied me, and it was a whole big traumatic thing, and it just destroyed my self-esteem. And so drugs just were the way to go for me. I was just like, okay, I feel better. I feel good about myself. I don't hate myself.
Yeah, I mean, you turned off the pain, you numbed the pain, and
Yeah.
obviously there's kind of this feeling of invincibility when we use, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
kind of the feelings turn off and just everything goes numb and you feel invincible. When did you first get introduced to Coke?
So I didn't get introduced to Coke until I was 19. Yeah, 19. Actually, my friends and I were very against cocaine because I knew some people that did cocaine and they were assholes. And we were like, I myself was like, I don't want to be like that. Cocaine. I'm never gonna do that. So I stuck with
Last words.
with ecstasy and alcohol and I love smoking cigarettes too. Smoking
So you
cigarettes.
did alcohol, then you got into pot and cigarettes, and then you got into ecstasy. So you did ecstasy before you did cocaine. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And that was, I thank God fentanyl wasn't around then.
Right.
I would be dead.
So would I.
Absolutely.
I always talk about this when I lived in San Francisco because we're from California originally.
Mhm.
I used to go and buy like opiates, like, Vicodin and otherwise on the streets downtown, Tenderloin district. And I just buy it off of homeless people that, got it. And I certainly would have died. Not to mention the cocaine that's now all laced with everything and everything else.
Exactly.
So I totally would be dead myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting. High school I did ecstasy, I did LSD, I did mushrooms. Yeah. That was
That was your jam?
That was my jam. And that was the group I was in too, that's what we did. And then, in fact, we did LSD on New Year's Eve one time.
How old were you?
And I was 16 because I could
Okay.
drive. Yeah, I was 16. I had to go home the next day, and my mom always made crab legs on New Year's Day.
Okay.
And so I had to sit there with my family as I'm tripping on acid and try and eat crab legs.
Were they moving?
Oh, yeah.
Were they talking to you?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was stuff like that. It was very, and somehow I always got away with it. Like I was always the one that my friends' parents were like, you need to hang out with Lindsay more. And
They thought you were just this perfect child.
yeah, like I was such a good liar that no, people really didn't know. And
Well-
then yeah, and then so let's see. Oh, I went after high school. I got out of there as quick as possible because it was just such a small town. And I moved to Hawaii by myself.
Which island?
Well, I went to Kauai first
Love Kauai.
and lived in a guy's yard that lived there, and I paid him $40 a week to put my tent on his property, and he had a little outdoor kitchen.
That's where I want to be.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, so that's what I did for the first year.
Semi-homeless.
Semi-homeless. Yeah. Well, and I ended up meeting somebody and moving it. He had an extra bedroom, moved in with him. That was fun. That was when I was drinking in that era, it was great. It was really fun. And it didn't even occur to me that I had any type of problem because I surrounded myself with people that drank the way that I did.
Which you thought was just acceptable.
Absolutely. Like I thought it was perfectly normal. No idea that most people don't do that. So anyway, so then I ended up coming back to Colorado just for a little while and was like,
Did you do cocaine when you were in Hawaii?
no.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I would think it'd be pretty hard and expensive to buy it in Hawaii,
Yeah,
given
no.
the number of stops.
No.
Together.
No, that was a stop along the way. And
Okay.
then I came home for the winter to snowboard all winter, which was great. Worked in a restaurant, and that was
when the party started.
the party really started then. Yeah, because I would hang out with the guys in the kitchen, and they would get me drunk and just
But that lifestyle, I mean, like I'm assuming like cocaine is just something that is just a 24/7 type of thing. They're working, they're chefs and cooks and stuff, and they're it's just a part of the routine.
Yeah, but I didn't do cocaine then with them because some of them were the reasons why I was like, I don't want to do cocaine. These guys are assholes. And they were. So that kept me away. But then I went to Japan with a friend of mine for like 3 weeks. And it was so much fun. I remember this so clearly. We were in a stairwell and he like dumps a line of cocaine on this dirty stairs. Yeah. And that was the first time I did cocaine and it was immediate. I was just like, give me more of this. I love this. It was the best feeling I'd ever had in my life, like better than ecstasy. I was just like, this is amazing.
Was there any music playing when you were doing it? Or was it just the echoes of the stairs?
It was just the echoes of the stairs. I mean, I'm sure we went back into the bar.
Sure.
Like we were out with.
So you were at a bar, went into the stairwell where you hear all the echoes. He lines up a big rail of coke, and that was that.
And that was that.
And you were 19.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and so you got all the feelings and euphoric. First time I did cocaine was when I was, I think, a sophomore or a junior in high school. I was on my way down to like Monterey Bay, Carmel area, because I was getting certified for scuba diving. Right. Which, by the way, like, again, let's do cocaine the night before we go scuba diving at like 50 feet. Yeah, that sounds just so smart. And the song that was playing when I did my first line of cocaine is Crazy by Seal. So it's like whenever that comes up, that immediate trigger of like going back to that moment. And again, like my first moment, just like your first moment, was just euphoria, joy, just invincibility, numbness, go figure. And then, so you were in Japan, you partied. Did you, was that the kind of the first and last time you did it in Japan, or was it basically a part of the rest of your trip and experience in Japan, and then you got home and kept going?
So that we just did cocaine that one night in Japan, but we partied a lot. Like I remember being so sick, I had to not go out and do things because I was just so hungover. Yeah. So that it was definitely a precursor of what was to come.
Sure.
But at the time, I just didn't see anything wrong with it. I was young and I was having a good time. So then when I got back from Japan, I moved to San Diego, and that's where I did all of my partying, I should say. Most of my partying was San Diego.
So you got sober, if I remember from our last conversation on this was, I think it was what, 26? You were
Yeah, I was 26.
26. Yeah.
2009. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you were in San Diego for what, 5 years, 6 years, something like that?
Yeah, I was in San Diego for 6 years. And then I lived in Palm Springs for a year also. Yeah, I did a lot of cocaine then. I was a blackjack dealer.
Boy.
Yeah, yeah. So lots of partying with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, San Diego, I mean, I went to school a little bit. I went to just community college, and I remember I was on a binge partying, and I one time, and I was just like, you know what? I'm sick of school. And I just dropped out of all my classes. Just the whole semester was gone. Like shit like that. Just nope, don't need to do this anymore.
So you were addicted at that point. Is that a fair thing to say? You were pretty deep into your addiction journey?
Oh yeah, yeah. As soon as I moved to San Diego, the people I started hanging out with, we were doing cocaine often, drinking all the time. Yeah, I remember after a particularly bad night being like, okay, I'm gonna not drink for 2 weeks. And I told my roommates this, and like a week or something into that, and it was tough. I was like white knuckling it. And about a week into that, I was like, I'll have a drink. And my roommate called me out. I was like, I thought you weren't going to drink.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you make a justification. And I mean, that just sums up like I couldn't not drink. I could not have something foreign in my body to change my reality.
During all that time, did you ever like connect the dots on like the why behind why you were using? Did you ever like stop to think, like, for instance, like, childhood trauma or any things that you experienced? Did you ever during that time say, maybe it's related to this? Or were you just like, I'm just going to party and have fun and whatever, whatever?
No, I just was like, I'm having fun. Um, I even I have had clinical depression ever since I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did go to a therapist at one point in when I was growing up. My mom sent me.
Do you have ADHD or ADD?
Yes.
Did you ever find, because for me, with my cocaine use, most people when they do cocaine, it makes them euphoric and happy and and social, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was the opposite. It made me completely go introverted, isolate, not talk to people. Like people would be like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you know what I mean? Was that the case of you?
No,
You're lucky.
because I was very shy and insecure, but doing cocaine made me secure in myself, and I
Sure.
could talk to people, and I wasn't afraid to say what was on my mind because I was always afraid to say what was on my mind
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like I was going to get bullied for it or, get shut down. So, yeah, doing cocaine made me feel invincible, like you said. So, yeah, so I worked in restaurants and stuff, which of course are not the greatest environment.
Most perfect environment for cocaine.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Fun. And I couldn't even hold a restaurant job. Like I kind of crashed and burned pretty quickly. I kind of made my way through, and I would lose a job, and then I'd, hunker down for a little while and feel that just total shame and like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened again. And then I'd like dig myself out of the hole and go get another job and work for a while, make friends. And yeah, it was just that up and down, up and down. And I still never associated that with any of my childhood stuff. In fact,
Interesting.
yeah, in fact, I did go to, I forget why I started, I had some kind of major breakdown. And so I did start going to a psychiatrist and a therapist. And the therapist kept trying to talk to me about my dad. And I remember getting pissed off and being like, this is not my dad's fault because he was my higher power for the longest time. It was like, because he's a narcissist and it was all about
Funny how that
grown
happens.
up. Yeah, grown up, it was all about making him happy. He was never happy. And that was my goal in life was to get my dad to be happy. And I couldn't do it, obviously, because that's not a kid's job. That's no one's job. Like he had to do that within himself and he wasn't willing to take responsibility. So, yeah, like I protected my family and just refused to talk about it and was like, nope, I had a great childhood, 100%
Denial.
denial. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just absolutely. But, and believed it too. And believed it.
Have you gone back and done like a 9 step with your family, specifically around usage, cocaine, your addiction? Because again, like the 9 step is all about kind of you talking about what your role is in it, not talking about like what somebody did to you.
Right. Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've done eight, fourth steps,
Mhm.
steps, 8 steps, nine
Sure.
steps. Yeah. And I've made amends multiple times actually. Because, I've been sober almost 16 years now. And,
It's incredible.
you don't just stop once you've finished the steps once. It's like, it's an ongoing
It's a
thing.
daily thing.
Yeah.
It's a minute by minute thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you
Absolutely.
constantly have to be looking at like, what am I doing? What character defect am I experiencing right now? And like, what's the opposite of that?
Exactly. Exactly.
So okay, so you were in San Diego, you were in a lot of different jobs, you were losing jobs. I assume it was because of how you were either working or performing or behaving, and all the reasons that you thought, the next job that you go to, things were going to be different. And of course, it
Yep.
was just wash, rinse, repeat. Did you ever get to a point in your cocaine use where, because I was an isolator, I
Mhm.
isolated myself. I completely went off on my own. I mean, I remember in the depth of my cocaine addiction, I'd be like doing cocaine all night by myself in the darkness in the bathroom of the house that I lived in,
Mhm.
sweating my balls off, just completely fucked up, standing in the middle of the bathroom, hearing voices, all sorts of like craziness and stuff. Like that to me, you'd think, you'd experience that and you'd think that would be your bottom and stuff. But I was a complete isolator when it comes to like, drug addiction, things like that. Were you like that? Or were you more of like a social scene that finally realized, oh, this is too much? Or like, what was it for you that was kind of when did you realize that things were really out of control with your addiction? Was it when you started to isolate? Did something happen? Like, what was it for you?
So, kind of the downward spiral, it took about a year. And I think what had happened was I called my mom drunk and high, fucked up, and was like, I'm going to kill myself. I was very depressed, like extremely depressed. And so she was like, okay, that's it. You're coming back to Colorado. And they admitted me to a psychiatric hospital. And all I would have had to say, by the way, was, I have a problem with drugs and alcohol. And they would have sent me to rehab, not a psych ward. But I wasn't willing to do that because I knew that if I said that, I wouldn't be able to drink and use anymore. And I did not know how I was going to live my life without some kind of buffer between me and reality. Because that was what it was for me, more than the physical addiction, even, was just like I could not handle life without my best friend, alcohol, and cocaine. But alcohol really was the constant because it's so easy to buy. So that was just the constant. Cocaine was great when I had it. And I was a daily cocaine user for a while. But that does get expensive and, you know, burn bridges with your drug dealer and you got to find a new one. So
Well,
yeah,
the good news is a, in San Diego, I mean, the South is like, abundant because it's so close to the border, and
right.
I would think it'd be pretty easy to. I mean, it's interesting. I talk to college students quite a lot about addiction and usage and things like that, and I ask them oftentimes, I'm like, what's the drug, kind of scene like at college and stuff, and it is fucking abundant. It's crazy. And these kids they just do it without even thinking about it. And, I talk to my kids about this all the time. I'm like, you will have a situation where there will be a white line or some type of pill that is given to you. And if there's something in there like fentanyl, you will not have a second chance to come back. Not a second chance. You're done, donezo, right? And that's the craziness of this. Like, it's so accessible now, and it's so easy to get. And all these kids, it's a very, very scary time.
It is. And I feel very grateful that I stopped when I did, because fentanyl wasn't a thing then. I mean,
right.
Yes, people took pills and did drugs and died from it because it was
From
laced with
overdose.
something.
Yeah.
But it was either an overdose or occasionally it would be laced with something that you didn't know.
Right.
But it was very rare. It didn't happen often.
Right.
And it's hard to OD on cocaine if you're putting it up your nose.
I mean,
you have to be doing a lot. People that injected, that's one thing. Thank God I never got to that point.
Yeah.
My using, never got to heroin or meth or injecting anything.
I don't know the stats on like overdoses with cocaine. I'm sure they're still pretty significant. I mean, you do enough of anything.
Oh yeah.
You do enough of anything, whether it's, pills or, booze or alcohol or any type of drug. You're going to do something, or something that you do in connection to that, like you get behind a vehicle and you start driving and you kill somebody, kill yourself, whatever.
Yeah.
All those are interconnected. But yeah, I don't know the specific stats on overdoses and stuff. So okay, so call your mom. You're 26 at the time.
No, I was probably 24. Must have been 25.
So this was a year or two prior to finally going sober.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wasn't ready to do it. And that was the thing with me, is
step zero, as they say.
Yeah, step zero. I never asked for help. I never admitted I had a problem. Like, I just lied and lied and lied and lied and lied to protect my addiction and to keep it, kosher that I drank and used, because I had no desire to even be alive without drugs and alcohol.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I lied to the doctors at this hospital. They totally believed me that I was just very depressed and got me on medication. And
they didn't ask about, I mean, I would assume they did some type of like drug screening and when you were there, and they find drugs in your system?
No, because I had only been drinking right before then. So I didn't have any drug. I was never a big weed smoker. Like, when I was younger, I smoked weed, but it made me super paranoid. So I didn't stick with that for long. So weed wasn't in my system. Alcohol, and I hadn't drank for a couple days before I was admitted. So I was pretty clean. And I just showed up in my sweet little self and was like, no, I have a glass of wine a few times a week with my girlfriends. And they believe me.
I was talking to a guy before the meeting this morning. I met a couple of guys for coffee, and he goes to intensive outpatient. And I said, are some of the people that had they gone back? He's like, a lot of them, like, went through rehab and then went back out and then went back into rehab and then went back out and went back into rehab. I'm like, what a waste of money. Like,
oh yeah,
what a waste of like time and money, your family's time, your time, all the people that are trying to help you time, the insurance company's money. Like, what a waste, right? It's like, and that's why I always say, until you're actually willing to say, I'm fucked up. I have a problem. I need to completely like turn myself over and surrender to this madness. It doesn't matter where you go or what you do. It just does not matter, because in your mind, in your addict mind, you're like, I'm fine. I can go back to doing whatever the fuck I was doing, and I can lie to people, and I can pull the pity party and pour me and whatever. And it's like, it's not going to matter. It has to take your own soul, whatever that takes, whatever bottom means to you, or whatever surrender it takes. It has to take you basically kind of just saying, okay, that's it.
Yep. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You have to be, you can't do it for anybody else. You have to have that, spiritual change, honestly. Because the last year, drank and used to die.
You did.
Oh, yeah. Every night, I would drink myself to sleep and wish that I would not wake up in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Boy,
that's mentally.
It's funny. When I got to the end of, before I finally surrendered, I also was like, yeah, I just want to die.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny how you kind of get to that point where you're just like, I just don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because I couldn't see any way out. Like, and the other thing is, I thought I was just insane, or something was just really wrong with me. I thought I was the only person in the world. I know. So self-centered.
You're so special.
I'm so special. I thought I was the only person in the world that had ever felt this way.
Yeah.
And that I was all alone, and no one knew how to help me. And I really didn't understand what an alcoholic was at that point. I'd heard of AA, but I'd never been to a meeting, never talked to anybody about it. And so what really got me, like, accelerated that downward spiral. So I got out of the hospital.
Looney bin.
Looney bin. Went right back to doing what I did.
Did you go back to San Diego?
Yeah.
Wait a second. So your mom says, okay, I'm going to take you to Colorado. I'm going to admit you to like fucking crazy town.
Yep.
You get on a plane and you go back to craziness that led you to crazy town. Did you ever have a conversation with your mom about like why'd you let me like go back? Or did you guys ever have just an open conversation about it?
No, I don't blame her at all. I do not blame her at all. I lied and lied and lied. I made it very hard for them to really, I very purposefully put a couple of states in between us.
Did they medicate you once you left the facility to kind of facilitate that? So they put you on meds. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
And I had a therapist that I was supposed to go see.
Of course.
And, so.
How'd that go?
Not well.
Yeah.
Not well.
It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I do not blame my parents one iota at this point for that.
So you pulled a fast one on your mom. I'm on meds, Mom. I'm going to go back. My therapist. And yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Straightened out.
Right back to the craziness in San Diego.
Right back to the craziness.
Okay. And then for the next year, you were just like, going hard and wishing to die every night.
Yep.
And so what was your white light moment? What was the kind of like, okay, I'm done?
Well, so what happened, my best friend at the time tried to commit suicide right in front of me. He OD'd on, he was a Iraq vet and had PTSD.
Okay.
He was on all kinds of medications.
Okay.
And one night we were partying, and he comes out on the patio and is like, I'm going to go to bed. I just took all my pills. And
just
at
like
first, yeah. And I was just like, okay, that's weird. What? Okay. And it didn't hit me for a second. And then I heard the door open, and it hit me for some reason right then. I was like, he just took all his pills, like literally all his pills. So I run in.
So you were high during the time when he's like, I'm going to go to bed, whatever.
Yeah.
And okay.
Yeah. And so it hit me. I run into the kitchen. The pill bottles are everywhere, like tons of them, and they're just empty. And he had left the apartment for some reason. So I'm running and I can hear him upstairs in the apartment building, like running back and forth. It was the most bizarre thing. Um,
On the
so
roof?
no, like on the floor above.
Okay.
And so I run up to him, I find him, I turn a corner and I look him in the eyes, and his eyes roll back in his head and he just falls over backwards, just and starts having a seizure. And I'm just like, what the fuck? So I'm just holding his head. And luckily, a security guard had heard us. And
Uh-huh.
he's like, call 911. He took a bunch of pills. So ambulance comes, sitting in the hospital with them. Uh, and I thought he would be fine. Like, I'm like, oh, he's good. Like, it didn't hit me right away how serious this was until the next day. The doctor sat me down and was like, we need to find his parents. We can't get a hold of his parents. He's going to die. If this were my kid, I would really want to know. And I was just like, oh, shit, he's going to die. What do you mean he's going to die? And so I sat with them in the ICU for 2 days while he was in a coma. And I remember talking to his CO, because he was in the Navy at that point still. And she's asked, I was fucked up in the hospital with him. Like, I was drinking. And she's like, are you okay? Like, what is
So you
going
were
on with
using
you?
while you were in the hospital dealing with, like, you were.
Yeah, as I'm sitting next to my friend who's in a coma, dying.
Were you doing coke at the
No.
hospital, or just
No, no,
drinking?
no.
You were just drinking, and
Yeah, I
you were
was just
just kind of staying as disconnected as you could. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So he's in a
Yeah.
coma. Okay.
So anyways, he pulls out of it. They put him in
Thank God.
like a 70, yeah, thank God. They put him in a 72-hour hold, because if you try to kill yourself, it's
They probably he probably did detox too. I would think.
yeah. Oh yeah. Like the Navy took over from that point and was like, okay, we're taking care of you. But here I was, already just a mess emotionally, and then I've got this PTSD of my friend trying to kill himself, and already I hate myself, but now I just hate myself more because I'm like, well, man, I must be a piece of shit if my best friend just tries to kill himself when I'm right there. So that was what facilitated my downward spiral, and I just spiraled and ended up back in Colorado. And I'm skipping over a bunch of stuff, but they put me in an outpatient, not for addiction, but for adults with major mental disorders. So like I was in there with bipolar people with schizophrenia, like people with major mental health conditions. And I'm sitting there just lying through my teeth. And I feel a lot of guilt still about that. Like, because I made these people, I would just make up stuff and they would feel bad for me. And then afterwards I'd leave and I'd go drink. And yeah. So anyways, finally my parents got wise. I was staying with my uncle at the time, and he's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I feel like you're going to die and I don't know how to stop it, and I'd be responsible. And so finally my mom, it came out that it was the drinking that was the issue. And so finally she called me one morning, and this was my spiritual experience. I swear. She was like, you either go to this inpatient rehab that I found, or you are out on the street in Boulder in the winter. And I didn't know anyone there. And, for some reason, I considered it, definitely. But for some reason, I poured that vodka down the drain that I had next to my bed. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And so checked me into this rehab center in Denver. And as I was walking in the door, I stopped. I very clearly remember this, took a deep breath and just said, okay, God, or whatever is out there, if you help me and make my life bearable, I will do what these people tell me to do. And that was it. I haven't had a drink since. And I really feel like that, my higher powers held up his end of the bargain, and I've done my best to hold up mine, and here I am, 15 and a half years later, still sober and a totally different life.
Yeah, there's a spiritual moment I think we all experience when we finally, turn it over. We find I'm a true believer, and I tell this to people all the time, that once you finally say, okay, I'm fucked up and I need help, or I need to go to AA, I need to go to rehab or whatever, and you finally surrender. That moment of surrender, and you finally say, okay, that's it. Like, we talked about the switch, just there's no longer an urge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tell, and again, I urge, folks that are sober curious or whatever that are listening to this, once you actually do what we're talking about, because again, you can't explain this. You can't explain this feeling. Mm-hmm. It's not a sensation. It's a spiritual experience. Mm-hmm. And you can't explain how to do it. There's not a master class on it. There's nothing. It's literally you inside hitting that off button. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you can say, okay, now I can actually get to work. I can start working on myself.
Yep.
So in the last, let's see, we're at 44 minutes or so. Okay. In the last couple of minutes, two things. First of all, what's your craziest cocaine story? I always like to ask that question of people. Like, what's your craziest coke story?
I was thinking about this real quick. I'll make it quick. I had a boyfriend. We did cocaine a lot in San Diego. He had a friend in Tijuana, Mexico, that lived down there. And for Thanksgiving one year, we went down there and we parked on the California side of the border, and then we walked across just because it's easier that way. And so that they were having a big party, and at one point my boyfriend's like, come on, Lindsay. So I get in the car with him and 3 other Mexican guys.
Oh, Jesus.
And this guy is driving.
It's like fucking cartel shit right now that I feel like I'm walking into.
No, this guy is driving like a maniac. He's up on the medians and on the side of the road. And I was freaking out. I'm like, stop. What if we get pulled over? And they're like, Lindsay, this guy's a judge. Like, he if we get pulled over, the cop is leaving us alone. And I'm like, you're a judge? He even showed me his badge and everything.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. So I felt better, but we go to this shady part of town. It's starting to get dark. And the judge is like, okay, stay here. I'll be right back. Goes into this shady place, comes back with this pink bag of powder. It was pink. And
pink Coke.
It was pink
Coke. That's Mexican
cocaine. It was quote unquote strawberry flavored cocaine.
Yeah.
And so we did coke all night with the Mexican judge in Mexico. And and then we walked back over the border without any sleep or anything, the next morning.
The good old cocaine walk of shame. Those are
fun. Man. And it was, I was real nervous. Let's say that, going back over the border.
Yeah.
They didn't give us a hard time, but it was that was crazy. I was just like, I can't believe this is happening.
I think my craziest drug story, I told you one of those, which I'm not going to obviously, because that one's pretty gnarly. And it involves a number of other people that I certainly want to protect their anonymity. Mm-hmm. But when I lived because I'm from California, when I lived there and I was in my active addiction, this is in early 2000s, okay, and I was living over in Marin, but I was partying in the city, and there was this dealer, this woman that I used to buy from. Mm-hmm. And she had the best Coke, and she always had these parties. She always rented out this one in San Francisco that everybody would frequent at, and it'd just be drinking and cocaine and all sorts of shit. And so I ended up getting there early, and she's like, hey Matt, can I talk to you? And I was like, sure. And we always kind of talked about stuff, and she was like, oh, she actually, did probably as much coke as she sold. Mm. She was nuts. But she's like, hey, I need you to do me a favor. And I was like, what? She's like, I need you to go pick up some cocaine for me. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, I'll give you like a couple of 8-balls for this. So I'm thinking like, I'm like, oh, sweet, like a couple 8-balls. Yeah, no, sure, I'll do it. I didn't ask her how much I was picking up.
Right. Right.
Okay. I drive about 10 miles to the other side of San Francisco. I meet this dude in a back alley who gives me a grocery bag. And as I get in the car, I just open up the bag and there's a brick of cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Full on, like the bricks that you see, like the cartel type of like shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. So anyways, I hide it under the seat. I proceed to turn left to go back to drive back. And immediately right behind me, there's a cop. Okay.
Yep.
I shit you not. For 3/4 of my trip back, this motherfucker was following me. I thought for sure I was going to get pulled over. I thought for sure I was going to like have to go to jail, you know, because
Yeah, you would be screwed.
I would be beyond screwed.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm totally sweating. I was going the speed limit. I don't remember. I don't think I was like fucked up at the time. I hadn't been drinking yet. So luckily that was fine. Anyways, didn't get pulled over, but I just knew that I was gonna, I knew that I was fucked. And I knew this guy knew that something was shady about me because he immediately pulled right behind me and was like following me. So anyways, that was about 3/4 of the trip back. He ended up pulling off and, you know, going somewhere else. And I ended up driving in and I obviously I got my cocaine and stuff and had a blast. And I didn't think about that story until after we talk and just, you know, the point of this is like the things that we do, lack of judgment that we do when we are under the influence and we want to use, it's like judgment gone, good decisions gone, like everything just goes completely out the door.
Oh yeah.
And we put ourselves obviously at risk, we put others at risk, we put our kids at risk, we put our families at risk, and it's just absolutely insane.
It is. It really is. I mean, I'm a totally different person, completely now.
Yeah.
And my sister tells me, she's like, yeah, what I used to look in your eyes and there was nothing there.
Yeah.
You weren't there, and now you're back. So it's just such a gift to be sober, and it's a lot of work. Like, don't get me wrong, but
Oh yeah.
it's worth it.
It's a daily, a minute by minute, hour by hour type of work. And you're right. I think the other thing is like for those that are around us that were seeing us in our active addiction, they have to get used to this new changed individual that's actually going through this awakening.
Right, right. Well, and for me, I ended up going to rehab in Denver and then another 3 months in California in Orange County. And then I just stayed for 13 years in Orange County because that's where I had built my community of, you know, AA and my sponsor and sober friends and my therapist. And, you know, Orange County wasn't my favorite place, but I wasn't going to go back to San Diego. And, you know, I'm like, you know what, this is where I'm at. And, you know, then I moved up to Portland because my sister and I have been able to repair a relationship.
Right.
And she's my best friend now.
Right.
And so I moved up here to be close to her.
And you're an aunt?
Well,
right? Or
that's a sad story.
oh.
Yeah. So my sister went into labor early and the baby lived for an hour and she died. So yeah, that happened in January. So
this year?
Yeah, my first little niece passed away.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So but you know what? I mean, it's terrible, but that's something that I can be here for my sister through and not make it all about me. I mean, it's sad. I'm extremely sad, but at the same time, I can walk through that sober. I don't need a drink, and I can physically and emotionally be there for my sister and her wife, and I couldn't do that before.
I mean, the tools of first of all, I'm really sorry about that. That's terrible. I think when I think about, you know, bad things that are going to happen to us, and I think about like, how am I going to deal with it? It's like,
Mhm.
you gotta, to your point, you have these tools, use them.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully I don't have to use them for a while, but I am, obviously I encounter situations all the time where, you hear about these things and it's like, you have to be ready for what you're not ready for.
Yep.
And in dealing with those things, and it's just like, you gotta lean on that toolbox that you have.
Absolutely. And you got to practice using those tools when you're like, oh, I don't need this. I don't need to call my sponsor. Do I really need to go to a meeting right now? I'm feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it's those habits of using those tools when you don't need them. But then all of a sudden, when you do need them, once a tragedy happens, you know where to go. You've built that community. You can just call, you can the phone up and call somebody. You can go to a meeting
Yeah.
and lean on people,
Yeah, absolutely.
and that's how practicing using those tools is what sets you up for
Absolutely.
success.
Absolutely.
And that's how I've stayed sober so long, is just, doing the deal one day at a time, which is a cliche, but it's
true.
so true.
So true.
And then, yeah, when it really counts, like, and that's my thing, is there is no option for me to drink. That is not on the table.
Me too.
Not an option.
Me too.
And so it just doesn't come into my mind. It just doesn't. When my sister called me about this, there was no desire to numb or drink. It was just like, okay, what can I do? How can I be there for you?
Yep. Service. Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for, we finally got this done, and
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And, I mean, everybody's story obviously is very different. So any last thoughts before we sign off?
Just that, the war stories are fun to talk about, to hear, but, the recovery is the important part, because, yeah, all our stories are a little bit different. We all come from different places, but recovery, we need each other, and you're not alone. That was something I learned. There's lots of people out there that are having very similar issues.
Oh yeah.
So reach out, and yeah, we're here. There's lots of people, strangers, that are very willing to help you. So
yeah. Well, thank you for being here. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Again, to what Lindsay said and to what I say all the time, if you need help, ask. If you need help, ask for help. This is not something that you can do alone. It is something that you need, support around. And, so reach out to your friend, your loved one, your coworker, your husband, your wife, your workout partner, your fitness instructor, your strength trainer, and just say, I need help. It really starts with that sentence. And it's hard to do, but once you do it, it's totally worth it. So thanks everybody for listening. Again, my name's Matt Barkoff. I'm the Sober Cold Bear, and we're going to go ahead and sign off. And thanks again.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Sometimes I feel like I want to fly without knowing.